1940s to 1950s. World War II. The American presence is here. And what happened? There's an infusion of American popular music in Guyanese society. And Guyanese musicians, as we were talking about, Al Seals, and these guys demonstrate that they could take that and turn it around and create what I would consider a definitive Guyanese songbook. So you hear Cool Dive by Al Seals and his orchestra. You are getting in touch with the spirit of that period of time. And there's also a man called Sweet Sego. Sweet Sego was confined to the leprosarium at Mahaica. But Sweet Sego would get away at certain times of the year, come down to town, and create a havoc singing his songs, you know, like Miss Mary, Bigfoot shine so bright. You don't need no candle, you know, to see in the night. So the people consider that Sego was a subversive force in the society. So every time Sego come down to town, they would arrest him duty-free and send him back up to the area. But I want to read that as resistance, because he was not part of the general discourse on how you manage the society. He had no voice in all the resources were being allocated, but he tell you what really going on. And if you wouldn't bear it, well, send him back to the thing. Okay, so what are some of the types of music that comes out of this American presence? The American presence is in a way reinforcing what was changing in that. The racial superiority thing is changing because of trade union pressure, constant strikes, the formation of these ethnic organizations. The American troops are primarily Southern. Most of the American troops in the Caribbean during the Second World War were Southern. And they came from states which did not permit inter-ethnic marriage. So you had something that were called temporary wives. So when that Calypsonian sang Brown Skin Girl Stay Home and My Baby, he's saying something, oh, that you better stay home, because I can't take you back to the States. Right? So Brown Skin Girl Stay Home and My Baby is a deeper song than what we think about. Rum and Coca-Cola. That is also a song of this era, and it was reflecting on the dynamics of the American presence in our hemisphere. But a change is taking place, and this is being led by a music group, an orchestra out from the East called the Mutu Brothers Orchestra. The Mutu Brothers were members of the New Amsterdam equivalent of the British Guyana Militia Band. It was called the No. 7 military band. They learned their woodwind instruments there, and the word is they became the most sought after accompanist for Caribbean musicians. So you would find that Roaring Lion, Tiger, Growler, all of these folks have recordings back by the Mutu Brothers. Return at this point in time during this period is Vesta Lowe. And Vesta Lowe had studied at Tuskegee Institute. She studied under Dawson and came back, created the Dawson Music Lovers Society, and that eventually grew into the British Guyana Police Male Voice Choir. One of the big compositions, I think we should note that Legend of Kaichur is composed during this period of time. And this is a dynamic that's taking place in society where our composers are drawing upon our poets and putting our poetry to music. So you look at Potter, you look at Pilgrim, you look at a number of others, you look at Valerie Rodway, and subsequently this is taking place. Our chapter 6, the rise and fall of self-determination. The 1950s, a bunch of young men and women. The average age of the PPP government in 1953 was 28. Set of youngsters who want to dress alike. You know, white sharks in suit, you know, two-tone shoes, flush with the language of scientific socialism, you know, and they rub some people wrong, you know. You can't be considering to create no communist beachhead, and we know the rest is history. But what is emerging at this point in time is steel band. The steel band is emerging and giving voice to the wider society. And up comes the British Guyana Music Festival. And the British Guyana Music Festival really creates the showdown between Georgetown and New Amsterdam. I would like to read a little bit of this showdown between New Amsterdam and Georgetown. Musicians from Georgetown were expected to dominate the festival and win most of the festival prizes. It was anticipated that musical ensembles from the British Guyana Philharmonic Society, led by Dorothy Tate, would dominate the festival. This did not happen. When the final tally was completed, musicians from New Amsterdam topped the list, demonstrating the high musical reputation that Mayor Clark had alluded to earlier. Among Berbice's victories were first, second, and third prizes for women vocal duets. The test piece was O Peaceful Night. First and second prizes on the 14 pianoforte solo competition. Third prize in the tenor solo. First prize in the children under 16 and under 16 choral competition. In that competition, Norma Romano won the solo pianoforte composition, and Moses Telford was third. Well, Annie Rambaran wins, you know, New Amsterdam just totally destroyed the world. So, when Ruby McGregor, who was the leader of Berbice, who was versus Dorothy Tate, as a matter of fact, Dorothy Tate has a Berbice connection, because they were out from Port Rock, which creates a very interesting dynamic in terms of the creativity of Helen Tate. When they returned to New Amsterdam, I see Gary smiling, because he's giving the New Amsterdam people more ammunition to continue to beat them. So, Ruby McGregor was given an illuminated address, which read, "Never in the history of the ancient country has such feats been accomplished in the realms of song and music, and never was there a more energetic, assiduous, helpful, and successful teacher of music than yourself. Your name will go down to posterity as one who in your day and generation had made a great service to your community and mankind, a service which generations yet unborn will appreciate and strive to emulate." Berbice win the world, right? So across time, these little tensions surface. So the music festival provided one of those moments. The elections during the 1950s were very hot, and Lord Melody was in Guyana for the 1958 election, and he wrote about that election in his calypso called Apanja. And it's a very important calypso. I think you should all listen to it. So he speaks to, said there are two calypsonians. There was himself and there was a calypsonian named Lala. Lala was a fictitious calypsonian, right? And once people were saying X and Y, Lala saying, "Vote for your man, vote for your man, vote for your man." So, the 50s, expulsion, reconstitution, the interim government, and in 1958, the return to power. And the beginning of a very deliberate strategy in terms of domesticating music. Hugh Sam wins the National History and Culture Week's composition with his piece Fantasia on 3 Guyanese folk songs. And we begin to see a shift the musical aesthetic of the state. Chapter 7 is referred to as Guyana Lament. The title is a song by Nesbitt Chamberlain, which speaks of a very dark time in our society. But not only is Changur the person writing, there are other dynamics taking place in society. Ram John Holder is in Guyana, and Ram John is doing some back channel work for Kwame Nkrumah. Ram John is trying to get Forde and Chetty to speak to each other. Right, so you've got that dynamic going on, and in the process, he records the album Guyana Jungle. Today, we still celebrate some of his songs as national songs, Demakarni, Demarara. So you got that. Helen Tate is now experimenting with something, the musical theater. And she plays with Slavic Fantasy, Amalivaka, and The Future is Bright. The Future is Bright is probably her most political one. She has a relationship with Chetty out of Port Moray. When her father was a government medical officer in Port Moray, the two families kind of knew each other. And The Future is Bright is a story about keep the faith. Things are going to change. And the guy, his name is Guy, and the girlfriend, the lady we love, her name is Anna. So right up in 1958, they are talking about this new country called Guyana, and they're dealing with all of these issues about migration and the abused working women from Georgetown, etc. And coming out of this period is the national anthem. And I would like to just read you a little bit about the drama associated with the creation of the national anthem. Okay. Now, this is one of the documents, this was recorded, and it is one of the documents that's currently on the site. We recently did a study in Guyana, and 94.8% of our national audio records are in bad shape. So here we go. The story of the selection of the national anthem is very interesting. As Linda Dolphin has detailed, Guyana was one of the few countries whose citizens knew the words and music of the national anthem before the day of independence. The route to that achievement started in 1960, when a special committee of the legislature invited submissions of lyrics for a national anthem. 212 entries were submitted. However, by 1962, no decision was made. So the Minister of Education and Community Development, C.V. Nunes, tasked the chairman of the National History and Arts Committee to move the process forward. Again, no decision was made. In 1965, there was urgency to select the national anthem, and Winifred Gaskin, then the Minister of Education of the PNC government, tasked the National History and Arts Council, elevated from a committee. And what is interesting, when you look at the bureaucracy of culture, we've seen this movement from committees, to council, to department, to ministry, to department. So Linda Dolphin was in charge of that committee to establish a public and transparent process to select the national anthem. In the same year, a new competition was launched, and a small committee of persons with broad literary and poetic backgrounds was appointed to guide the work for selecting the anthem. 266 entries were received. And through a selection process, the number was written down first to 40, then to 12, and finally to the winning entry, Greenland of Guyana by Reverend Archibald Lockhart. The final decision on what the music was going to be was an act of participation. The team gathered at the Guyana Technical Institute. At that time, the principal of Technical Institute was Compton Puran, and Puran was the lead tenor in The Future is Bright. So atmosphere, according to Lynette, the atmosphere was very friendly. And the GIS played the three entries. It's a blind, nobody knew who composed what. And emerging out of that was Cyril Popper's But the contributions of Broadway and Pilgrim were so high that they were encouraged to find new lyrics, and the rest is history. We continue into the 1970s, the small man being a real man, and here the ideology shifts from racial supremacy to the ideology of decolonization. And we see the creation of the national service, and I'm happy to be part of that, and I want to build, and that kind of dynamic. Chapter 9 along with the president is dead, we're referring to the 1980s. And what is dominating this period of time, again, this is state influence. An important moment are the president's birthday concerts. And we are currently saying, let us cooperate for Guyana. That is from the yard. President birthday concert, piece of musical theater. This is what is happening during this period. Chapter 10, Desi You Wrong, Desi You Wrong, Desi You Wrong. Desi You Wrong, Desi You Wrong is a calypso by P.S., the man who is known for being Formula Second, the mighty record. Right. And this thing was, Desi, Barnabas, he wrote in his grave for you to lose this election. Desi You Wrong, Desi You Wrong. But this signals the return of the People's Progressive Party to government, and as I mentioned, their internal dynamic is a very interesting piece. Because on one hand, you have an old guard saying, you got to get rid of all of this, quote, black man music. But the same music that we refer to as black man music has been central to the songbook of the People's Progressive Party. Because the People's Progressive Party has been a very culture-oriented organization. So when you look at their mobilization songs, Miss Elas, all of those songs are there. So there was an internal contradiction and an internal tension, probably associated with the euphoria. It was identified who the person was who was leading that charge, but I was unable to corroborate that. And if I can corroborate something, I cannot state that. But the musical acceptance of state.